in that way. They just want to get more and more people tweeting more and more stuff. And Twitter's been quite openly embracing of its role in these revolutions, like, free speech, let's have more of it, and so on. How Twitter might change once it starts to turn a profit, if it ever does, will be interesting.
Question in the front here.
I was going to come back to the point that Sarah made earlier about the possible effect, restraining effect of the instantaneous rebasing on the people firing a gun. To say that one needs also to look at the victims. And to me, one of the most important aspects is the sense of solidarity that they feel, in the sense that it's a morale which that their sacrifices aren't necessarily in vain because their protest has been witnessed. This, I think, comes through very clearly in Western Sahara, which is my bit of interest. And I'd like to just mention that earlier, before the Tunisian events, there was a mass protest in Western Sahara, which Chomsky has recently linked as the actual beginning of this movement, he sees. And 20,000 people walked out of the main town and some other towns and camped in the desert in protest. And this amazing sort of work with their feet. The authorities didn't know what to do about it. But they sort of watched it very carefully. And they immediately made it very hard indeed for any journalists to report anything that was going on. However, because there were some mobile phones embedded, if you like, in the protest, and in fact some Spanish protesters were there too, as well as some Arab people, news got through, and there were pictures on lots of YouTubes about helicopters circling. There was a minute-by-minute blog that had given accounts of what was going on. And maybe, I don't know about Facebook and Twitter, but I'm afraid I'm not old enough not to be onto those new ones. But certainly through email and through YouTube and the blogs, there was a lot of information coming out. However, many months we are now on, basically nothing has been achieved. So we need to look at how come the Amnesty did a report, they were finally allowed.
You wrap up the question.
Yeah. But how can we carry it on? You were saying this is what you saw as your organisation's role and contribution.
Thank you.
So, there are obviously events happening all around the world that people know about, but often don't connect enough to actually take the next step and take action to lobby their government or to lobby a foreign government. And I think that is a big challenge, and part of that challenge is because people, well, like me, I don't know about anyone else in the room, has never experienced violation of my human rights. And so it's hard to empathise with that, and it's hard to understand how acting on behalf of someone else can help them just as an act of solidarity, or how it can help them in actual, more physical, sort of tangible ways. And I think I was actually trying to explain to my brother and telling him that the way to imagine is to remember when you're a small child and you get sent to your room unfairly because he got told he was punished, I think, for pulling my hair, and I made it up. And that sense of injustice, that absolute sense of like, not only is this terrible thing happening to me, but nobody cares and nobody is nobody's on my side, so I'm going to give up and I'm going to go to my room, suck it up, and tomorrow another day. And I think internationally, like recognising those events and really like strong acts of solidarity and actual taking that next step to take actual action and send a letter to your government or whatever it might be, can really motivate people on the ground in those countries. And I think that, like part of the effect of Twitter and Facebook and these, and the international community watching, gives people, part of the reason why people have the courage to act in their countries and why, Egyptians did rally in the street is that they knew that the world was watching and the world was behind them. And you can't say that is the reason why it happened, and you don't want to overstate that, but I think that's an important part of any revolution is that generally people really need to do it for themselves, but international actions, whether it be solidarity or other, can really play a part in that. And the challenge of organisations like Amnesty and sort of things like Twitter and Facebook to convince people in other countries that's reality.
And a follow-up, Alice, to what you and Sam. Organisations like Amnesty, GetUp, the Human Rights Law Centre have limited resources. Are we better off focusing our efforts in giving what Morozov calls analogue activists, traditional activists, new tools, equipping them to use social media for their campaigning and advocacy purposes? Or is the best use of social media actually reaching out to people who are already online but passively and seeking to engage and activate them? What gives us the biggest bang for our buck?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing really. The biggest tool that you can give, I like the term analog activist, I've never heard it before, but I like it. I think the biggest tool that you can give any activist is the movement of people to work with. And that the best way to build a movement these days is online. Because that's where a lot of communities live.
Farmer's just kicked off his new campaign online through YouTube.
Yeah. And my Facebook feed has been completely swamped this morning by people saying they're in. I'm in, by the way. I think that the best way you can give somebody is a movement, and the best way to build a movement these days is online because of data collection, and because it's the easiest way to find a movement of people for any particular issue, even if there isn't one in your local community.
I agree with that, but I think it is really important not to just dismiss analogue activism, which I understand that it's very cool. Because, while this communication might happen online, the real world is not online. The real world is where we're sitting. The real world is in our MP's offices. The real world is the local papers and the mainstream media that still are massively influential. But I think you just dismiss them and be all about Twitter. And online is amazing for data collection, and online petitions are excellent for that, and are a valuable tool in people signalling interest. But the goal really has to be to get those people to sign that petition online and to get their details, to get their phone number, to get their email address, and then ask them to do something else, maybe something small, maybe bring their local newspaper and complain about an article that, for example, reported the wrong facts on refugee arrivals. And then to get them to be going and knocking on the door of their local MP's office and saying, hey, I'm your constituent, this is what I think, this is what I want. And that, there's a lot of other steps in the process, it's not quite that simple, and you lose most of those people, right? So there's 10,000 people that sign that petition. Obviously, that doesn't equate to 10,000 people in an MP's office, if that's the goal of your campaign. But that's the starting point, and that's how you get people there, and that's how you translate people from those weak ties to the strong ties, is to motivate them, is to take them on that journey, to give them the information and the reasons why they should do it for them, as well as for the movement.
So,
maybe this is best covered that Jonathan will only list his Amnesty's and Pirates. But I was just wanting to know what you think about the crossover between civil liberties activism and actually offering an equivalent option at the ballot box, such as that done by the various pirate parties around the world.
What's the got potential is going to cut into the chase of something concrete, which is kind of fun. The pirate thing isn't all that serious, but it's sort of a little similar to the family. Never a great reader of, and I'm not quite sure it's wise and much of a so I now have to live with that. Yeah, I think that's constructive, direct, has all sorts of potential. Just an interesting point on what Victor was saying before, how it's inherently illegal for Facebook to take your personal information and sell it to marketers, but when Amnesty and GetUp do it, it's just
You want me to respond to that? We don't sell it to marketers. We have it.
No, I wasn't suggesting that at the moment, but you
Oh, okay.
your own business.
We do use it for our own daily purposes. But it is important for an organisation like Amnesty to, I suppose, respect the data that we get, and that is, it's a very, it's one of those balance questions where we weigh up what we can do with that data versus other ethical considerations, and we are by far on the side of the ethics versus the side of the impact. I have no worries about that. And there's obviously, I suppose, opt-out options, etc. But overall, the information that we provide, I think we like to think quite neutral, because it's back in rights and they're everyone's rights, and we're just kind of giving people information about how that translates in the real world. And with Facebook, I don't have a problem with them not allowing anonymous accounts or having policies. They have a policy. It's maybe not as clear as it could be, but it is, like, they've rationalised that and they've explained it. And if that policy and their platform doesn't appropriately accommodate the needs of social media users, then that's another thing will come up. That's kind of, I think, how it happens. Maybe that's my sort of economic background coming through, but I think the free market does kind of work in that way, and that's how social media works as well.
In the middle here.
I was struck by Mr. McLean's statements that the steps for becoming an activist, your 5 steps, remarkably are almost like the same steps a company goes through converting a person to a customer. And that reminded me that we are dealing with commercial enterprises here. As Professor Joseph said, they're still looking for business models. They're not making money yet. And due to the nature of what they're doing, they are interested in people sharing as much information as they know about these people. That's probably how they're going to make money in the future. And because they are profit-making enterprises, a lot of people are getting a free ride or offer. You're not paying to use these social media. It just seems that there's a lot of forces that are going to come at some point here and start really, really having an impact. Commercial versus freedom versus privacy, etc. A couple years from now, we really may be looking at some kind of big rethink about how we're using social media.
I think that's very true, and that your information is very financially valuable to anybody who can have it online. People have various levels of neurosis about it, and it's justified or not. I think that more neurosis is probably justified. What gives me hope in, despite that situation where increasingly private companies whom we don't particularly like have ridiculous information, is that companies on the internet are always slower than other groups on the internet, and there are various ways that we can take that network back and start protecting our freedoms again. An organisation that one of my former boss at GetUp now runs is Access Now. The website is access.org, and they're worth a Google. They do a couple of things in this regard. One is campaigning to keep those corporations on us to the extent that we can. Another is providing people with really useful toolkits as to how to protect their information online. I read through one this morning and realised how many mistakes I'm making in my online security. And the other is some pretty remarkable tools like online proxy clouds, where we can create networks that reroute connections through a maze of computers across the world. So I can essentially use my computer and my internet connection to provide a shield to make it more difficult for people to track online activists in other countries. So an online activist in China or Iran, for example, can reroute their connection through my computer. And it goes through my IP address and it goes to somebody else, and makes it much more difficult for them to be tracked. So, as scary as it is, I think there are things that we can do to take that back.
One last very short question.
Okay, thanks. From a very tangible perspective, I guess, we were talking this morning about how organisations these days, their CEO says, you need to have a Twitter account, and all these Twitter accounts open up, or you need to have a Facebook account open up, and no one knows how to use them actively. I guess my question is, is there a brilliant toolkit that you're aware of that we can take back to organisations, if any around here, that can really start to implement and use these social media forums correctly and proactively? Thank you.
All I can say from the Castan Centre is we've just learned by doing. And when you make a mistake, you find out about it pretty quickly.
I don't know the results. I'm sure they're out there, and I'll look for them when I get back to my computer. But my pithy piece of advice to people who are in that situation is, yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, Google it. And the ECF forum run out of the UK, Electronic Campaign Forum, has some really good guidance, actually, now that I remember it, about how to use social media. But the practice, I think, is not as important as the attitude. I mentioned before that GetUp is very reliant on the social media to fund what we do, and if it fails, then we were screwed. I think that the major problem that many organisations have when they take on social media is that they don't really care whether it works or not. It's not mission critical, and that shows, because social media is all about whether you give a shit or not. Because you have to give a shit if you're going to share it with people, and that's what it's all about.
Well, on that note, can I ask you to join me in thanking our panellists? Those of you on Twitter, Prof. Sarah J, Samuel McLean, Alex Pagliaro, and Green J, the nemesis of pirates. I'm reliably informed that the hashtag SMHR, which was a hashtag for this forum, was trending Australia-wide, so if you're interested in what other people inside the forum and outside the forum thought, then check out the hashtag. Thank you very much for your participation and engagement, and thanks very much to the Castan Centre for Human Rights for hosting this event.